Welcome to week 6. Hope last week was a good reset for you. Hope you made some changes to your environment or made some changes that popped in your head you felt inspired to do. They're hard to do. You probably didn't perfect it this week, so stay on track with that. And I think you've learned mostly what you need to know and do. Now, the rest of this game, the rest of the fat loss journey for you is to not get distracted and focus on things that don't matter. I would say 90% of my job as a coach is just keeping people on track with small things. It's rarely uncovering new, profound things that I need people to do and learn and whatever. Yeah, once in a while we learn some new research and we implement some stuff, but most of this, I promise you, is not getting distracted, is not seeing something on Instagram and TikTok and whatever. Listen, knowledge is plentiful nowadays. There's so much knowledge out there. Like, it is mind-boggling how insane the amount of knowledge is, but there's no wisdom, right? That comes from coaching people, from dedicating yourself to this craft, from learning these things. This is what we have done for a very long time. And it's what I've done personally for over a decade and tried to do so at a world-class level and learn from the top minds literally in the entire world. And I can promise you that the people at the very top, like industry leading experts in every field, in fat loss, in psychology, in muscle physiology, on mitochondria health, they all say the same things, and it would be insane to go against those. However, most people in our space, as I alluded to a couple weeks ago, have not learned from these people. They've learned from their own personal experience and takes that as truth and law. So today, what I want to talk to you about is some of the lingo and words and things that you're going to hear now that you're involved in this journey. And there's some myths and stuff that we'll get to maybe a little later on, but I want to address some of this because communication is very important, because what you're going to do is you're going to hear words, they're going to go into your brain, those have meaning to you specifically, and you're going to create actions based on those instructions. So communication and knowing how to speak and knowing what things actually mean in our space is incredibly important. Our service is not, I'm a personal trainer. I don't take a lot of new clients anymore, but our team of coaches, they take new clients, and their value is not derived from how long they spend with you in the gym. Or else I would make all your sessions 3 or 4 hours long so we could maximize the amount of money somebody's paying, right? We don't care about how long we're spending with people. We care about how much of an impact we can have, and honestly, probably the shortest amount of time, because we want you to get to your goals faster. So in order to do that, we have to have not just the knowledge of what's correct and what's right, but we also have to have the wisdom about the context, about how to deliver that, how to communicate it. We need to know how to say the right things and know what we're saying, okay? So here's the reason why I tell you this, because you're going to try to learn, try to do more. And like I said, you already know what to do. Just double down. It is really hard when people hear things are difficult. They assume that they're not true because they're hard. No, it is really hard. That's just a fact. Like, doing this, making lifestyle changes is really difficult. It takes a long time. That is not a signal that you're doing the wrong thing, okay? Most people give it about 6 days of consistency. That's most people. And I've rarely seen somebody actually do something for 30 days, not give a thought about whether they should stop or quit, and just keep going for 30 days and not get results. But that's usually the problem with most people, and they're dishonest about their consistency. So anyways, lingo in the fitness industry is going to really mess with you. So I want to just deliver for you as somebody who's trying to lose body fat. And of course, we're doing it in the healthiest way possible, because there's some very, very unhealthy ways to do this and achieve this. But results that you don't keep aren't results at all. So we're going to make sure they're sustainable as well. So for you being that person, you are primarily going to be seeing physique changes. So you're going to hear a lot of words around losing body fat and building muscle and whatever. And here's the thing about the fitness industry. I liken people on the internet, and honestly a lot of people that you're going to meet at, I won't want to say at the gym because ours is truly unique, but other places that you go, especially outside, in different areas, different parts of the country, you're going to meet a lot of people. You're going to hear a lot of people who say things and they really don't know what they mean. They're gonna say words, and I love doing this It's very mean, but I see it as a point of it's ethical. It's unethical to mess with people's health and not know what you're doing. So I love asking people, well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that word shred? Well, get leaner. Like, okay, what do you mean by that? Well, like lose body fat. Like, okay, and lose muscle, like, or is it just like scale goes down? What is it? And even simple questions like that, people fumble over their words and they can't explain what they actually mean. And if you look at, like exercises and stuff, like it's literally toddlers running around, this is, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at this trick I can do. And you say, what's that called, buddy? And they're like, it's a 360 flippy. That's the fitness industry. That's what the people you're taking advice from largely. And the people who can communicate well, sometimes, I hope that I'm a decent communicator. But a lot of times, people that can talk well and speak well and make sense in your brain, what they're teaching is actually not factual, because research is a whole different thing. People say, do your own research. You can't do your own research. You're not a clinician. You're not somebody who works in a laboratory. You can read though, and a lot of people can't read studies. They don't have the background and the training in academia and able to do that. So they cherry pick and they don't know what stuff actually means within the context of the study and then how it applies to everyday life. So all this to tell you, when you hear all of these words, I want you to understand there are two things that can happen. There are only two things that can happen to change your physique. I guess there's like a 2B, right? There's something that you can't see and we can measure. I can't measure it. You can go to the hospital and get it measured. But let's say there's three things that can happen. All of them affect the scale. All of them affect your health. All of them affect how your hormones work, how your blood sugar is handled, everything. But there's only two things that can occur. You can lose body fat. You can build muscle. That's it. The third thing is bone density. You can increase bone density. That takes a little bit longer. It's a different process. You have to do weight-bearing exercise with a lot of force to make that happen, which is why we're such a big proponent of resistance training, especially for women over 40. But that's all that can happen. You can't cut, shred, bulk, all these other buzzwords and lingo and detox and whatever. The only two things that can happen: you can build muscle, you can lose body fat. Now, next week, I'm going to teach you about how to maximize both of those and how most people get it totally wrong. They get it totally wrong when it comes to fat loss and building muscle. And if those are the only two things that can happen, there's a lot of other stuff around this that you're going to get advice on that simply does not exist. It's a fantasy. It's not something that you should even be worried about. So I'm going to give you the formula for those two things next week. We're going to talk about how to maximize both of those two things and minimize all the negative effects. Because what everybody does is they hear about how one of those two things work and they go all in on that one variable and forget to mitigate the negative consequences, and they end up at a net just even. Nothing really changes. They get some positive benefits, they get negative benefits that occur with it. So what I want you to understand, that you are getting really great education here. And that's not a humble brag. That's just a fact. I'm telling you that because I don't want you to go out on the internet and listen, educate yourself. Absolutely. But if it doesn't stand up to the things that we have taught you over the last few weeks, question it. Certainly there's things that we've missed, right? There's only so much memory space on the card of my camera for me to teach you. And there's only so much attention span for you. There's definitely things that we miss. And listen, if you have questions, that's why we exist. Like, please ask us. But if things are going to say like, hey, take this supplement, this does this, whatever, but it impairs your sleep, right? That's always my number one thing. Is it sustainable? If it just curbs your appetite, then you don't gain the skills in order to manage your own appetite. You're not forced to change your nutrition in order to eat food that doesn't cause you to be extremely hungry. Remember, hunger stopping meals. Nobody's going to be successful long term if their appetite is out of control, because their meals aren't containing protein or fiber or fat, or preferably some vegetables or some greens, right? And it all comes back to the same stuff, right? So all these other things that say like, hey, you don't have to do that. That isn't a requirement. It's easier this way. It's easier because it doesn't work long term. It's easier because it doesn't force you to address the things that are required, it's physiology, right? There's some psychological stuff mixed in, though I think that's the same thing. However, in order for you to attain the goals that you have, it's going to be difficult. And that's why you have support. That's why you have education. That's why you have accountability, hopefully from us, and encouragement, really, because you're going to get down on yourself. You're going to have bad weeks. You're going to have bad days. But I promise you, if you do the right things, if you work on your sleep, if you take small steps and you do them consistently, and really not kid yourself and make yourself think that binge eating on the weekends isn't a problem, or that not sleeping isn't a problem, or whatever, or even if you're somebody like, hey, I work shift work, or I run around all the time. Just be real about what results can actually happen, and help us, or let us help you craft a plan in those situations. But there's no way of avoiding the impact that those things have on your life, on your health, on your physique. Now listen, everybody's different. Everything is nuanced, and that's why this can be so tough. And I just don't believe in over-promising people like everybody does on the internet that everything is a solution, because then you start to lose trust in everything altogether. So just a reminder this week that those are the things that happen. The only two things that can happen to your physique, that you're going to see in the mirror, rather, because hopefully you can't see your bones or your bone density. You're very injured if that's occurring, is going to be fat loss and muscle building. That's it. Next week, I'm going to teach you how to maximize both of those things from a nutrition, sleep, exercise perspective.